The longest-running off-road and action motorsports radio show on the planet is coming to you live with the biggest guest in motorsports. Here is the only man on the planet who can pack this much dirt slinging and tire slaying into 2 hours a week. Sit back, strap in, and be prepared to get your ears blown. Here is Jim Beaver and the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
Wow, we're here for episode number 400 of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Jim Beaver here in the Polaris Razor studio, and just like we have done for 400 episodes, to me that's just absolutely mind-blowing. We're going to try and bring you guys the best in action motorsports talk radio anywhere in the world right here, and I got to tell you, this is a really, really special episode. Not many shows make it 400 episodes. I don't care if you're talking radio, podcast, TV. I mean, 400 episodes is definitely a milestone. Very fortunate to be here. And, you know, one thing I wanted to do is I wanted this episode to be all about the guests. Now, I'll do my opening in the next segment like I always do, but we are going to be all about the guests today. And we've got two guests, and we're throwing this kind of old schoolish, long-form interviews. We're not fitting these national time slots. We're going to break it apart. We've got two big guests, and we're going to go dive deep into their stories, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun today. We got one of the guys who has, been a fixture on the show in and out the past 8 years. My good friend Travis Pastrana. He is back on the show. It's been probably at least a year since TP has been on the show. He and I go way back. We raced together at Vegas to Reno. It's really, really fun to have TP back on the show today. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this interview. I think we're going to get a side of TP today that maybe we don't get all the time. You know, I'm not going to ask him the easy questions. I'm going to ask him the stuff that he doesn't ever get asked. So TP on the show today, and then making his debut, 400 episodes it took me to get this guy on the show. Another good friend of mine, Rutledge Wood. You guys know him from NASCAR. You know him from Top Gear. He's got his new show there on Netflix. But I got to tell you, Rutledge Wood, this guy, you want to talk personality, he is an ideal fit for the show. We got a ton of mutual friends, and I am stoked to finally get Rutledge on the show. And then we've got an entire hour worth dedicated to Rutledge and his story, and just talking all things cars, racing, and all things badass right here on episode number 400 of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. You don't want to go anywhere. It's going to be 2 hours and a whole lot of fun. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris Razor brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris Razor because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team Razor because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris Razor because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRazor.com or follow at Polaris Razor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story.
Ford WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, Ford WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to Ford WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at FordWP.com.
For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Oh man, that was a hell of a ride. Go check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code Jim Beaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code Jim Beaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a feeling.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, episode number 400. Never would have thought I'd get here. Honestly, never would have thought I would get to episode number 4, more or less 400. But thanks to all you guys for tuning in. This is a really, really special one. Here in hour number 1, we're going to kick things off. We've got my good friend Travis Pastrana, TP199. He's going to be coming up after this segment. Kicking off hour number 2, we're going to have my good friend Rutledge Wood. Rut and I, we've known of each other for a long time. I think we actually first met each other in person, in the flesh, last year at the SEMA show at the General Continental Tire big party they throw at Caesar's Palace, invitation only. And if you get an invite, trust me, go to that one. It is awesome. But, yeah, you know, a couple of guys I really wanted to shake it up because we've always been about the personalities, about the guests. Travis, I think first time I ever had him, I can't even remember when the first time was. We're talking 7 years ago, maybe. He was, I don't know if he was in year number 1, definitely year number 2. Maybe 2013 was the first time I interviewed him. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to have to do a little research on that one. Maybe episode 75, but I think it was before then. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, and enough of that. But, yeah, I've known Trav for a long time. You know, we've been good friends, and, you know, once in a while we'll send some jokes and some texts back and forth and things like that. But, you know, I wanted to bring a couple of guys in that really, you know, really with personality, that have stories to tell. And, you know, they really reflect what this show is and where it has come from. And I get a lot of people all the time in my travels, you know, people see this and they're like, oh, you're on TV, you're here, you're there. Like, I went to college and I had a marketing degree, right? But other than that, or a business marketing degree, but other than that, like, I didn't know what I was getting into in radio. And I tell everybody wants to know, like, how did you do this? That's amazing. You live in the dream. You're doing this. You're doing that. And, you know, I tell everybody, I'm like, you know, the truth is, if you want something to happen, whether it be a podcast, a YouTube channel, a business, whatever it is, a blog, whatever it is that you want to start and you want to get going and you want to grow, ignore the numbers. Like, I don't look at our numbers. I have to for our reports and things like that to sponsors, but I've never really put a focus on the numbers. I do when we have to sell advertising and sponsorships. But, like, to me personally, it's never mattered. You're going to have good shows. You're going to have bad shows. Some are going to do well. Some are not going to do well. You know, and at some point you got to look at trends and figure out what's working and what's not. But if you literally put your sole focus on looking at every single website hit, YouTube view, podcast download, you're never going to be a success. Literally, what I tell people, start going. I am 400 episodes in. Actually, if you count SEMA, all the remote shows, all the rally radio, GRC radio, the off-road edition, Project Action, I'm probably way more than 6. I'm probably 700-800 episodes I've actually done. I know I've done over a couple thousand interviews at this point. We calculated that earlier this year. Mind-blowing numbers, but the thing is, it's been an 8-year process, right? And if you look back at year number 1 and episode number 1, the show was horrid. It sucked. You know, and at the time when I started, I had a Twitter following of probably 75, 80 people. No Facebook. Instagram didn't exist. I didn't even, you know, remotely have a YouTube channel. When I started out, I went to Walmart, bought a $20, $30 headset, and, the best Skype headset they got. Let me tell you, those things are garbage. I don't care what they say. If you're podcasting with that, throw it away and go and get some real equipment. But signed up for a $20 service on the internet, and boom, I was off and running, and, with a radio show that we were doing live in a podcast. But the first one was suck, man. I think I took a notepad. I literally wrote out the entire first episode, 45 minutes worth of audio. I wrote on a notepad and just read it for 45 minutes. It was like a freaking audiobook. It was horrid. I didn't know what I was doing, and it sucked. I got assassinated on the internet because I didn't know what I was doing. People like, holy crap. And, I had a whopping 27 listeners to that first episode. Fast forward now, we're consistently well over 500,000 when you count, national syndication, the Armed Forces or American Forces Network, and then our numbers online, YouTube views to our audio files and, iTunes, all that other crap. We're well over 500,000, but I don't even pay attention to those numbers. You just got to keep going, and it's like I'm looking at episode number 400. If I think at episode number 500, that's a couple years away, right? You can't think about that. You just have to go in, do the work week in, week out. That's what I get people all the time. I want to start a podcast. I'm like, great. I'm like, don't even plan on selling advertising for the first year. Ignore it. Don't even take advertisers, nothing. Concentrate on your craft. Do 50 episodes, then go, all right, now I've got something. Where are my numbers? But you got to learn. You got to transform yourself as a personality, as a business owner, as a YouTuber, whatever it is that you want to do, a video maker. You got to put in the work, and I think that's one of my big failures on this. Is the first year I was 3 episodes in and started telling people, "Hey, sponsor my show, sponsor my show." That's not the way this stuff works, and I know that now, but I didn't at the time. And I guess that's my biggest advice to you guys is if you want to do something, and I get hit all the time with it, put in the work. And I think that's why I like Rutledge Wood and I like Travis Pastrana on this episode. TP has grown an entire media juggernaut out of nothing. Literally, Trav had nothing, and he has grown this into what it is today. Now, he was uber talented, but talent doesn't come cheap. He put in the work to get the talent that he's got. Rutledge Wood, another guy. You know what I mean? He didn't come from a bunch of money or television family or anything like that. He didn't have the fast track to where he was at. He put in the work. I mean, I'm sure he's going to tell a story about wrenching in the garage with his dad, things like that, and that's how he got where he's at today. And I think that's what separates people like that are successes apart is they just put in the work, and generally the success comes later and it organically kind of happens. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. And I've challenged everybody too throughout the show, and I didn't really think I was going to open the show this way, but I get a lot of people, they're all depressed and where they're at in life, and this sucks, that sucks, I hate my boss. Like, hey, I was 30 years old, and I decided, you know what? I don't want this to be the rest of my life. I'm going to do something different. So I started this while I had my other job, and, it turned into now I'm making a great living at it. I'm doing television. All these other opportunities have started springing up because I invested in myself. But it was one of those where I made a conscious choice. This is not what I want for the rest of my life. I want to do something different. And, you're never too old to do that. Don't think you're stuck in that rut that you're in or where you're at. The only thing separating you from what you want is a simple choice. You can change your life by making one decision or doing one thing. And, don't ever forget that. Because I think a lot of people always, they get depressed and think they're stuck. And you're never stuck. You can always leave whatever it is. And I think that's one of the things. You look at all these motivational speakers, they'll tell you the exact same thing. So if you're listening into episode number 400, sorry I started this out the way I did, but it was just one of those, like, literally that has been what I've heard the past 8 years. And, that's my best advice. Just go and start doing something, whether it's riding a mountain bike or, starting a YouTube channel, podcast, whatever. Just start doing it, man. Put in the work and just make it consistent. It's all about consistency. And, sooner or later, you're going to turn the corner. But I just have to thank all of you listeners, seriously. 8 years, 400 episodes. I never would have figured we'd get to this point, and it wouldn't have happened without you guys. Our amazing partners like Polaris, General Tire, Vision Wheel, Dirtfish, that's been with us for so long. Thank you guys for the support, bringing us to where we're at today with the show and our media company and everything else. I mean, We have been fortunate to surround ourselves with some amazing people. You know who you are, and we wouldn't be where we're at without you. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. And I truly, truly hope that you enjoy episode number 400 of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Pastrana's up after this. Are you looking for a place to push yourself behind the wheel and see how your driving skills stack up? Dirtfish Rally School is that place. Located on 315 acres of pristine automotive playground at the foot of the Cascade Mountains in Snoqualmie, Washington, right outside of Seattle, Dirtfish Rally School is a one-of-a-kind place where everyone from first-time drivers to seasoned professionals like Bucky Lassick and Antoine Lestage can push themselves to their limit. Whether driving the high-performance, rally-prepped all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza STI is what you're looking for, or you'd rather hang it all out in the rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZs, Dirtfish Rally School has something for everyone. Classes are available from 2 hours to 3 full days and feature instructors with over 150 years of combined racing experience. Whether you're looking to become the best and get an edge on the competition, or just looking to freshen your skills behind the wheel, Dirtfish Rally School is the place to go. For more information on registering for classes, visit Dirtfish on the web at dirtfish.com, or to check out the latest happenings from Dirtfish, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dirtfish Rally.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
All right, I'd like to welcome one of my guests to this very special 400th episode of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. My good friend Travis Pastrana, TP. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Dude,
it's been,
400. Holy cow.
Yeah, I think
that's a big number, man.
Dude, when you think about that, 400 weeks, that's crazy, man. It's like 8 years I've been doing radio, and this was a show that wasn't supposed to last 2 episodes, so I don't know. We did something right somewhere along the line, man.
Oh, no, heck of a job. Good to be back on, man. It's been a while since we got to hang out, for sure.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to think. I think the last time I can't remember when we saw each other in person. I know you came and did Star Car with us at Vegas to Reno. I think we had more fun after we broke down than we actually did during the race.
I appreciate it. I mean, on a technicality, I appreciate that technically you had to pay up on that bet. That was a shame, buddy.
I went 10 feet and owed you $1,000. I think you got $100 out of me though. And I signed the $100 bill, so I'm sure it's floating around somewhere. But
I still got it.
Yeah, that was a good time. I was thinking back though. I think the first time I ever interviewed you on this show was you raced the Mint 400 in a trophy truck with Bryce. They fielded a truck for you. And I think the over-under on that race was nobody thought you'd go a lap, and you ended up like freaking getting like 4th in trophy truck or something that race or something like that. But I think that was the first time I actually ever interviewed you, and we actually ever had, I think, a real conversation or something. So yeah, it's been, dude, that was, how long ago was that? That's had to have been 6-7 years ago at least.
Yeah, it was a while. I kind of lied my way into it. Red Bull's like, you race trophy trucks before? I was like, yeah, of course. When I was Bryce to the desert, got 20 minutes of testing, and it was so funny because Red Bull and everyone they did the odds in Vegas, and it was something like 50-1 that I wasn't going to make it past the end of the second lap, and I was like, man. So it probably slowed me. It's probably the only reason I made it to the end, but it also slowed me down a little bit. So I was catch-22.
Yeah. Well, it was one thing I've learned about you, hanging around you. Like, there's something about betting, and even if it's like a $5 bet, like you will work your ass off like double time to win a bet. Like if there's a bet involved, in 99% of the time when you're involved, there's some kind of a side bet going with somebody. But I've learned, man, like I think it's these little bets that's really driven you through your career, man.
Yeah, well, Nitro, it's just $1 bet, but I tell you, there's, and it was a 5 Aussie bet to come back and do X Games. I hadn't done it since like 2006 or 7, and then in 2011, Booco, he's like, "Hey, old man, you couldn't hang, so you won it in 2010." I was like, "Oh, come on, man!" So went for a 5 Aussie bet, and we both broke our collarbones like one day apart. And he's like, "My doctors are better than yours," and then he pulled out, and then dropping in the last run, he's like, "All right, I'll make it 20 if you double backflip in your run." So I mean, that was probably one of my biggest bets. Other than that time, I beat you for $100 on technicality. That was pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah. So people that don't know,
keep bringing that up through the show.
Yeah, no. Well, and people that don't know the bet that we're talking about. So when Trav came and raced with Joe and I at Vegas to Reno, it was $1,000. So whoever broke the car owed the other ones $1,000 apiece. So Travis had driven the car. Jolena did. I co-rode with her, and I was supposed to do like the last 200-mile stretch into Reno to finish this thing up. So Trav hands it over, and we're in this little town of Gabbs, like literally in the middle of nowhere. It's like a 30-mile way, one way in and out. And I get in the car, and I literally drive the car 10 feet, and it blows up. And Travis, who had done like 300 miles in the car, he immediately, I get out, and I'm like, well, I think we're done. And like, you were jumping up and down. I won the bet. I'm like, dude, I was like, I drove it 10 feet. Jolene's like, Jimmy, you don't have to pay me again.
It made it to you. It made it to you. My job's done.
Yeah. So, 10 feet cost me technically $1,000. You only got $100 out of me, but it was what it was. But
you put an extra zero at the end of that just to, in Sharpie, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I did do that. I forgot about that. I wrote an extra a zero on. So, yeah, what a good time, though, man. I mean, here's the question for you. I mean, you get the chance to do that. I mean, obviously, you're doing nitro stuff. You're still doing a lot of rally racing and things like that with Subaru and stuff like that. I mean, how are things for you, man? I mean, because we could talk about nitro and do the thing, but I mean, and talk about all these events you got going on and Evil Live and all this other stuff. But I mean, let's just talk. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, how are you? I mean, you've got a wife, an amazing wife, a couple of kids that I think the world has fallen in love with, man. I mean, you're kind of living the dream, right? You're just kind of getting to pick and choose what you want and kind of just have fun, right?
No, everyone keeps going, oh, remember the good old days? I'm like, dude, I'm very, very fortunate, and been fortunate to have an awesome crew of people around me and great sponsors all the way through. And yeah, I've had a lot of injuries. But at the end of the day, man, I get to do what I love to do. And yeah, it really took the beginning this year to try to slow down a little bit. I wasn't very good at it, but yeah, it's just, I mean, it's awesome. My 6-year-old, she just turned 6 yesterday and started school today. So pretty rad first day of kindergarten. And my little 5-year-old, she's been doing awesome, driving her little Razor. The kids absolutely love it, scaring me to death. We've got between, I don't know, like 4 of us, there's about 80 acres of trails behind my house. And my, 4 and 5-year-old, or now 4 and 6-year-old, are both driving the Razors good enough to, we had to get a second one, and they're just terrorizing through there. And it scares me because they used to be afraid to go back by themselves, and now they're just like, they just get on, they know how to start it by themselves, and if the door's open, they're gone. So it's been the worst time of my life. If people say, what scares you? I'm like, having kids, and especially having daughters. But yeah, we'll see what happens in a couple of years, but it's pretty rad.
Yeah, well, my daughter, she's actually getting ready she got a Razor sent her a 170, and she's getting ready to move into the 570. And that, I gotta be honest with you, I'm excited, but it's also got me scared out of my mind, like thinking my 10-year-old now is going to be in a 570. I mean, this is like a full-size car now we're moving her into, and she's driven the turbos and stuff a little bit, when I'm riding with her and things like that. But I'm like, this is a big stepping stone here. So it's got me a little bit nervous. You can't really, I've rolled a 170 before, but it takes a lot of work for a kid to roll one. Unless you drive it off something 5 foot tall or something. But like 570, man, you can wad one of those up in a hurry. So I got to tell you, like one dad to another, it's got me a little nervous right now.
Yeah, that is the thing. Definitely when they first started to get into 170, it was a little scary. But now, like Addie, her first time really around back, she ran into a tree pretty much as fast as it would go. She was like, the seatbelt hurt me. I was like, no, you're wearing the seatbelt from now on. And actually, we're now getting the 5-point because for sure. But so her impression was when she hit the tree that the seatbelt was the reason that she was hurt, as opposed to the seatbelt was what saved her from flying through the cockpit into the tree face first. So it was an interesting take on a 5-year-old's perspective of of what hurt her.
Yeah, damn seatbelts. Oh, too funny, man. So. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, how are things with you? Like, obviously, you've kind of transitioned into this role. And I had this conversation with somebody recently, and I said, it's kind of interesting to me because you still could go out and do a lot of things. But I know even going back to Sheeny and the triple, it was one of those where you kind of bowed out and said, Sheeny, you carry the torch here, man. And, it's one of those, like, I know that was the double was tough for you when you first did that, and now it got to that point where you're just like you bow out. But now I see what you're doing with Evil Live, and obviously last year I think you and I talked right after that, and you've done all these amazing recreations of what Evil did. But now with Vicky and Axel and things like that, now you've kind of moved into more of a promoter type role, and you're still doing all things Travis. You know what I mean? But how has that kind of transition been with you to kind of empower the people around you now and kind of let them take center stage?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, and I didn't give Sheeny anything. I was working on that triple back I was working on it with Red Bull for 3 years and couldn't get it around. And then Nitro stepped in, and then everyone stopped funding everything because it just looked like it was just not going to happen. We started with a 14-foot ramp, and I think Red Bull gave up when we were at a 30-foot ramp, and Nitro gave up when we were at like a 40-foot ramp, and ended up being like 46 foot tall, 44, wow. I forget. It was something ridiculous. We just kept having to add more and more transition and kept having to go higher. But every time we went higher, the bike would have less power. So we're trying to get, so then we got Paget over, and pretty much anyone that would try to come over and even hit the ramp. And then coming out of the woods, I mean, shoot, I was, you're going as fast as you can. Nothing at my house is like a straight shot because we can't take down the trees really. So we're just, you got to be a pretty good rider even to get to most of the jumps, let alone hit it. And Sheeny ended up hitting it with a 450 in fourth gear, and just about 60 miles an hour at the bottom and accelerating hard all the way up, going. So the lowest I could do it off the ground, and it was a step up, but off of where our baseline was about 112 feet, and that's still the airbag was at 65 feet. So you're still, you're still dropping almost 60 feet to the bag with a dirt bike on top of you. And tried it with a 125. I couldn't get enough time, and tried it with a 500, and the first one was fast, and then I just was out of control, and the concussions onto the airbag. I was like, oh, it's soft airbag. I tried. You're like, shoot, man, it's 50 foot wide, but it's only 20 foot to one side or the other. And when you have that many G's on the takeoff, I mean, everyone was just blowing up and missing it. Sheeny missed it to the right. I missed it to the left. Not missed it completely, just like caught the edge and like smashed down. And I'm scared to death even hitting it to an airbag. And I thought, what am I doing? And Josh, he kept paying for his own flights out and welding his own ramps. Him and James Foster was working on the quadruple flip for BMX at the same time. And it's just been awesome working with, everyone's like, oh, I wish I had handed to me like the Nitro guys. I'm like, dude, if they're on the Nitro tour, it means that they're up every morning on tour at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're doing radio interviews and promotion stuff. At 11 a.m., they're doing meet and greets with Make-A-Wish and everything. It doesn't matter if you're tired, well, obviously you're sick, you don't do the Make-A-Wish, but, when you're tired, you're sick, you still got to perform, you got to do your stuff, you're hurt. And guys like Harry Bank, man, and R. Willie, they're just awesome. Yeah, they have a lot of fun along the way, but, man, those guys work hard, and they aren't afraid to send it night in, night out, and developing the ramps and welding their own stuff and building their own stuff and, buying their own airbags for the house. And it's been really awesome seeing, the next generation kind of grow up and, how much work they put in. Everyone, it's funny when you do the Facebook or Instagram, everyone's like, oh, if I had that opportunity, I'm like, dude, Josh Sheehan worked in the mines in just outside of Perth for, I think 3 years to get enough money to basically, get himself with the motorcycle and the ramps and welded his own stuff, took it to the desert, the dunes to learn a backflip. That's back in, 2007, I think 2006, 2007. And that was probably the best, if not one of the best in the world. And, if you want to do something, you can figure it out. It's just there's no easy road to the top for sure.
And don't go anywhere because we got a whole lot more with Travis Pastrana when we return here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, episode number 400. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty Radio Show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it. So when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our Razor vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Do you race, or are you a weekend warrior? Have you checked on the date on your helmet recently? Don't get caught off guard by using an outdated helmet. Impact Racing, the leader in motorsport safety, has new SA 2015 helmets to fit your budget. Whether you're looking for a helmet with a full carbon fiber shell to take you to victory at the Indy 500, or just looking for some helmets for a weekend at Glamis, Impact Racing has a helmet for you. Find out more information at impactraceproducts.com or on Facebook at Impact Safety. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, episode number 400. And right now we got my good friend Travis Pastrana hanging out on the line with me. And Trav, right before the break, you made a really good point about people in general and people, the armchair quarterback sitting at home, always saying, well, if I had this and I had that opportunity and you gave me this that those guys have, at the end of the day, and I can't even say talent, is a determining factor. I think it's how much work you want to put in, because I've seen some people that, didn't necessarily have the talent, but they had the drive, and in one way or another, they figured out a way to make it. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of blood and sweat equity that goes into into that. And I think a lot of people think that things are given, but like you said, even the Nitro Tour. I mean, I've seen that behind the scenes and gone to quite a few events, and they don't see the people in the back icing and and getting massages because stuff's cramped up, and this is tweaked and that's tweaked and they've got a concussion, and I don't think a lot of people see that. It's kind of a behind the scenes. And I think one thing I've loved about your videos and things like that you guys have put out from Nitro and action figures and everything else, I feel like you guys have kind of really helped show the full story and make things go full circle and shown. I think a lot of people just want to show the successes, but you guys have showed the failures as well. And I think it really shares the bigger picture of what it actually takes to be successful.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Even like guys like Twitch comes out with his film every year, 2 years or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a different. The California crew is the guys that kind of go out and they dig, and they'll dig for weeks. Everyone going out and bringing their own water out there to pretty much the desert and getting all this stuff shaped. And East Coast, where kind of the Nitro crew or whatever is all building ramps and bobcats and stuff, but there's a lot of good ways and a lot of awesome ways to have fun on dirt bikes. But at the end of the day, people get too caught up in a lot of stuff, and we're getting to make a living, for a lot of the Nitro crew on kids' toys. And if you're on dirt bikes or cars, you got to be a heck of a salesman, man. Especially get into cars, that. Like, RZRs are the stepping stone to get in and prove that you can drive. But even if you can drive, I mean, NASCAR, before you make a dime in the Cup Series, you have to sell $14 million. You have to justify $14 million. That's what it costs to run one competitive Cup team or Cup car for the year. So, even if you're like, man, oh, you're doing great. They're paying you. You're like, no, I'm still paying for my ride. Like, I get a lot of it covered, but shoot, man, this is, you still got to be able to go out there and do your promotion stuff. So it's a wild ride, but it's been a lot of fun and been very fortunate to be able to do it for this long, I guess.
Yeah, well, and that's being said, you're still doing it. But, and I know kind of freestyle stuff. I mean, you've probably got a few things in the back of your head that you always wanted to be able to do and you didn't. But, I mean, even looking at kind of full circle and all-encompassing and looking at, race cars, you've driven pretty much everything you can possibly think of. I mean, is there anything out there that you're going, man, I still would like to try that, or I'd drive that, or I'd race that, or, attempt that? I mean, is there a few of those back there where, a guy like such as yourself that's accomplished so much, there's still a few things where you're like, yeah, I need to do that before I call it a day. Not that you're ever going to call it a day.
No, I mean, there's bucket list races. You got Dakar, Indy 500, Daytona 500. All stuff that you're like, man, if I really put my head down, like, how much are you willing to give up to, as far as time and family and stuff to be able, not give up family, but give up family time.
Yeah.
And do what it's going to take to, sorry, that came out very wrong, to be able to do that kind of stuff. As far as tricks and motorcycles, the double backflip 360, well, it started as a backflip 360 and then escalated to like the Aussie roll is what they call it. I mean, I wanted to do that for so long, probably like a 10-year process, and finally got that checked off. So I'm not, there's nothing really on a dirt bike as far as trick-wise that I'm that excited to do. I'm excited to work on new ways to hopefully have our crew not hurt themselves when they try it. But, with back jump and those guys are fun. But, at the end of the day, it's rallycross. I truly believe that, racing is not dead in the U.S. by any means. But, a lot of times, and it goes along the same cycles with skateboarding and motorcycles, it goes from grassroots and people are having a lot of fun doing what they love to do with their friends. And then it gets to a certain level where it's almost impossible to get to that top echelon.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose that grassroots feel. You lose that entryway into it. And then you got the same guys battling for the same spots because they're getting the most practice and obviously they're already good to get there. But it makes it tough to get there. So my goal from Nitro was to say, okay, let's build, kind of a place where these guys can come up. And, we get a lot of flack for some of the different tours that we've tried, but we're like, hey, we're doing a grassroots tour. We're only doing a moto tour. We're doing whatever. We're just trying to bring out locals from each area. A couple guys, we still obviously with every Nitro show, there's got to be that top echelon, but let's try some guys. Let's see who can get in. And at least there's a way to entry. Whereas like X Games doesn't have a qualifier. But Nitro World Games, every sport for our event, you can qualify your way in, which is, it's not easy, but you still got to beat the best to get there. But at least there's a way. So that's been fun. But for me right now, it's all about rallycross and trying to rebuild kind of from grassroots razor stuff, short course trucks all the way up and, see if we can build courses that can accommodate everything. And, we can really find that talent that's coming up, and hopefully kind of build that rallycross back up from where GRC kind of started and then dropped away.
Yeah. Well, and I know, even, and when you get an endorsement, and you and I, you're close with Ken Block. I'm pretty good friends with Ken, and he doesn't give out endorsements very often. But when he, after Nitro, he goes, that's the best rallycross I've ever driven. And like for me, from a guy like that who has done GRC, he's gone to Europe and things like that, like to me, that's a big statement. And it's got to make you feel good. Like, I know this is good, but when you get an endorsement like that from a guy like Ken, you really know, hey, we're onto something here.
Yeah, well, from Nitro Circus, we found if the athletes, whatever you call it, the skaters, moto guys, if everyone's stoked on their jumps, they're able to try new stuff and it's safer where they don't feel like they're going to die every time they try something new. It's still dangerous, but, with the airbag landings and this kind of stuff, it's like, all right, they're excited to try new stuff. They're excited to push. They're excited to go out night after night and ride with their buddies. And when the athletes are excited, the crowd's excited. And with kart racing, you just don't see that a lot anymore. I mean, the racers, they know what to expect. They know everything that's going to happen all through the race day. Where Nitro World Games, you got guys like Scott Speed who've come out and, obviously he broke his back this year, so that was not a great testament to the track and the safety that we're trying to do. But it was actually they had me kind of pull that jump in a little bit because they said, let's make it a tabletop or a single, and that kind of backfired. So, but and it's a long story long. Scott came out and was like, "Man, this is like I'm excited to drive. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm having fun. I don't know what's going to happen. There's berms. There's all kinds of stuff. There's flat. There's pavement. There's concrete. There's gravel. There's dirt." He goes, "This is really exciting for me." And that's you get someone that's raced Indy, F1, NASCAR, and for him to say this is the most excited he's ever been to drive, that's pretty cool. And then you got guys like DTM champion and WRX champ. But to jump back in on that, all the drivers were excited and scared at the same time. But that scared and excited brings us back to like X Games 2001, when all the jumps were different and bigger, and Coliseum, shoot, the crowd's wondering who's going to do the biggest jumps, and everyone's scared, and we're all just throwing new tricks, and that was neat. Now it's really kind of methodical. Everyone knows the jumps and the setups, and yeah, it's good to make it like the Olympics, but at the same time, it's it takes a little bit of what freestyle is all about away.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's kind of cool to have that excitement back because, like you said, everything kind of gets monotonous, and I think that's when people, it's not must-see TV, it's not must-see video, it's just one of those, if I miss this, all right, nothing really special is going to happen. It might be a good race that goes down the wire, but we're not really going to miss anything. But when you can create that must-see, I have to tune in event like X Games used to be, and like Nitro is now, and with that race, I think that's when, it gets its hooks in people and it gets its hooks in the athletes. And, that, kind of is what is a catalyst for driving progression.
Yeah, no, I hope so. So we'll see. I mean, I got a call from, there's a couple of the IndyCar drivers reached out, a couple of NASCAR drivers reached out. That's cool for me to see that, they're like, hey, that looks like fun. When can we do it? Is there going to be more? Like, how can we get into this? And are there any more cars in the U.S.? Like, we got to build up our car count. We got to build our grassroots up. But I think it'll be fun. There's a lot down the pipeline, and just trying to make it all work out and have some fun along the way. It's kind of my dad said, man, you never grew up. You like ride that train till the wheels fall off.
That's one thing I've learned. I had the real job for a while, and Jason Ellis and I had this conversation, but guys like you and me and Ellis and, plenty of us, I call it, we all have no jobs. Somehow we figured out a way to get paid to have fun. And, once you get to that point, there's nothing better, man.
No, couldn't agree more.
So, all right, Trav, well, I know you've got another call to jump on, my friend. Thank you for the continued support of the show, and calling in for this special episode number 400. You were the top of my list. I was like, I can't have an episode 400 and not have TP on the show. So thanks for making it a reality, my friend.
Dude, thank you. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Have a great rest of the show, and I'll be out racing with you soon, I hope.
Yeah, me too, man. Travis Pastrana does not disappoint. I don't think you can ever have a bad interview with Trav, that's for sure. And, I'm really fortunate to be able to call him a good friend. And, one of the guys that supported this show from the beginning. And, not just him, but the entire kind of Nitro family there. I mean, obviously, Pastrana, you guys know I'm good friends with Street Bike Tommy. Jolene Van Vliet is a dear friend of mine. I mean, to the point where her and I went racing for 2 years in the desert. I mean, we used to share rental cars for Terracross and travel together. And just an amazing group of people. And they are some of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. I mean, gosh, you go down the list. I mean, Nate Wessel is a dear friend of mine, the ramp designer there for Pastrana. Hubert's been on the show countless times. I mean, the extended Nitro family. I mean, we've had Bilko on the show. We've had Sheeny on the show. Just an amazing group of people. And, Colton Moore, another one, that's in that Nitro family. And just so very fortunate to get to know some of the best athletes in the world like Pastrana and have him support this show. I mean, I remember when Street Bike Tommy went rally car racing against Pastrana out there at STPR, and Nitro, had me hosting videos for him. And, people like this, I mean, Trav, I would go to the ends of the earth for that guy. And I got to think he would do the same for me. And, it's just when like-minded people get together, and especially in the case of Nitro Circus and what they've done there and the things that you're able to accomplish in this industry. I mean, what Nitro Circus has done, I mean, you want to talk about video game tricks and video game stuff, that is what Nitro Circus is doing on a daily basis. I mean, don't sell themselves short, because they make things look extremely easy, but the amount of work and that they've put in is just absolutely remarkable. To get where they're at, and I mean, to do those shows, night in, night out, and be able to pull the tricks and the things that they are doing. I mean, it is absolutely mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-boggling, for them to do what they have been able to do. So big thanks to Trav for always supporting the show and coming on. I mean, very fortunate to have the access to him like I do. And, he's become a very good friend of mine, and very fortunate to have him, come on, as often as he does. But before we go to a break, I got to tell you about another one of our partners. I've got that esports team and iRacing. They're doing a solid job over there, by the way. Give a shout out to Eric Smith and Michael Gariglia, my two drivers. Speaking of iRacing, race online from the comfort of your home against competitors from around the world. Well, iRacing brings the competition in NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, Rallycross, and now the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series to you. Take on the top ovals, road courses, and dirt tracks in the world, from Daytona to the Nürburgring to Chili Bowl, complete with iRacers from around the globe and everything from pickup races to league races and world championships. Use a promo code PR/Jim Beaver, and it's going to get you 50% off a new subscription for 3 months at iRacing.com/membership. Sim racing is iRacing, and we'll see you out the track. And with that, we're going to see you guys after this commercial break right here on episode number 400 of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance, or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, and just getting done with Travis Pastrana. Big thanks to TP199 for calling into the show to help us celebrate. One of the guys that's it really helped shape the show to where it's at. Ken Block, another one, and Robbie Gordon, another one. I've really been thinking back at some of the early interviews in the first year, and really what kind of shaped us the way we are, and it's like, man, Robbie Gordon, I think somebody had given me his cell number on something, and I remember we were like a month in, and Robbie knew who I was. I didn't really know Robbie. He's become a very close personal friend, at this point. He's actually one of our very first sponsors of the show with Speed Energy, but I remember Robbie, he was one of my guests probably a month and a half in. He was still running NASCAR right around Daytona, and I had sent a random text and said, "Hey, Robbie, this is Jim Beaver from Parker. I've got this new off-road show. I would love to have you as a guest." And literally 15 minutes later, he sent back, "Sure, dude, tell me when and what time, and, I'll call in." And we recorded an interview, and I got to tell you, I remember when I got that text back, I was literally like dancing around the living room of my house, like, "Oh man, Robbie Gordon said yes." I was literally like on cloud nine, and it's just funny how some of those happen. I mean, Ken Block, there was an IOU there with Ford that I ended up, getting him on the show. Jolene Van Vught, I was looped in or blind copied on an email asking for some advice on something when she was going short course racing, there at Chicago, and it was a catastrophic accident. And I ended up randomly texting her. She had no idea who I was or if I even existed. And she said yes. She's now become a dear friend of mine. And just funny how some of those early interviews actually happened, and I was, and I got them. I mean, you talk about hustling, and still to this day, it's a hustle to try and get interviews. Some of these people, in NASCAR and IndyCar that I've never interviewed before, man, it's still sometimes a shot in the dark. Everybody has a, pretty good idea who I am now, but man, you do what you have to do, and to make things happen and scrape by. And it's just funny. I think back at some of those first interviews and how I actually got them, and I got to tell you, it's quite interesting. Anyways, we're going to take a short break, and we'll return with more here in hour number 2 of the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our Razor vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of Razor vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a Razor 170 like me, take the entire family out in a Razor XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new Razor XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris Razor. Check out the full Polaris Razor lineup at Polaris.com, or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris Razor. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, episode number 400. If you're tuning in nationally or on the American Forces Network, and you just missed hour number 1, you're going to want to go and hit up the archives there on iTunes or on our website, downanddirtyshow.com. Please check it out, man. You missed an amazing interview with Travis Pastrana, who's a dear friend of mine, and always so fortunate to have him on any of my shows. Still mind-blowing to me that somehow the guy says yes and actually likes me. But no, TP is such a solid human being, and if you've ever been around him or his friends, man, it is never short of a whole lot of fun. So, yeah, I want to put this out to you fans, this is episode number 400. Always with these anniversary shows or turning points, I like to get fan feedback. And I mean, obviously at this point, we're not going anywhere, right? For better or worse, we are here to stay, ride or die with the Down and Dirty Radio Show. And, I want to put it out to you guys, though. I would like to know what you guys want out of the show. I mean, personalities, we get those. I mean, is there somebody that we haven't seen that you would like on the show? Is there a format shift you would like? Obviously, we've got some national slots and things like that we have to, that we have to abide by. But is there something you want us to cover? Are we missing something in motorsports? Like completely not talking about something that you guys want us to talk about? Like, I would absolutely love your guys' feedback. I mean, this has always been fan-driven. People for the longest time said, Jimmy, get Rutledge on the show. We're doing that. Right now, after this next break, it is Rutledge Wood for the rest of the show, right? So we went out, we did that. Rutledge, obviously he's wanted to come on the show for a while. And Pastrana, another one. You guys always love hearing from Pastrana. I've heard you about Faust. I've heard you about Block. They will be on at some point. I promise you again. We've done it more Supercross stuff. We've got a lot of IndyCar and NHRA fans. Obviously, off-road, we started an entire second show because I felt like I was ignoring, my bread and butter, right? So we still talk off-road here, but now I got a whole show dedicated to it. Is there something we're missing here? Is there something you want me to cover, you want me to talk about? I mean, we're doing power rankings. Love that. Tiffany Stone doing a segment every single week. You guys seem to love her. Like, is there something we're missing? Some athlete, some driver, some personality, some series, something we are missing. I want to hear from you guys. Please hit me up at JimBeaver15 on social media. For some reason you aren't a social media person, use the contact form at downanddirtyshow.com. Please, I will answer you back. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Help steer this show for the next 100, 200, 300, or 400 episodes. Please, help me out. All right, we'll be back after this with Rutledge Wood on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris Razor brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris Razor because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team Razor because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris Razor because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRazor.com or follow at Polaris Razor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3 from General Tire. Make your anywhere possible by visiting GeneralTire.com today. General Tire, aggressive styling with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount. Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'd like to welcome my buddy Rutledge Wood to the show, and it only took us 400 episodes to get you here, buddy.
Well, I was just really waiting. I just knew this is a milestone, and so I was really trying to just bide my time and just make sure that I really made it. So, dude, congrats first off. And it's so cool that what you do makes such a difference. And I've had so many friends on here, and I've always wanted to do it. We finally found the time, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, you and I have been pinging each other back and forth for a good month now, and I'm like, you've got a lot going on, man. It's been actually a pretty big month for you, but I know I was just looking. You were at Indy, and it's funny because I just was watching your social media today, and something popped up, and I'm like, I've been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway quite a few times. I can't say countless times, but quite a few. I can tell you, dude, I've never had like even the inkling that I needed to go to the golf course, but yet you went and saw that. And I'm like, how have I been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and never actually been to the golf course? It's like, I think it's one of those, most of us that go there, just, it doesn't cross our mind. Right. But you went out there, you and Dale Jr., looked like you guys had a lot of fun.
We did. It's funny. I actually got to go to my first Indy 500. I've been to the Brickyard. I bet 15 times. I might have missed one in all these years I've been covering NASCAR, but this was my very first year to go to the Indy 500, and I got to cover it for NBC with my buddy Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I told him about this kind of legend that I had chased down the year before. So, they call it the Brickyard because at one time it was paved with 3.2 million bricks when they started that place. And I think the year was 1911 when they actually put the bricks down, because it started before that. But at some point they started realizing they were wearing a little bit funny and they needed to change it. So they started pulling sections up and then a little more, paved the whole thing. Well, they had all these bricks and they weren't sure what to do with them. So some of them they went and used in other buildings and other shorings up, but they took a ton of them and they essentially lined the creek walls of this creek that ran through the golf course that was next door. And there's 4 holes inside. And so sure enough, Dale and I went and waited around, and he didn't believe me. It took like an hour to find one that he really liked, but it's something that people have done over the years. And it's such a funny experience because, we've been in a lot of weird places in our lives for work and or pleasure. But when you're in a creek that looks a lot like a sewer, it's tough to convince someone that you should be in there. And there's like old beer bottles and stuff. We're all just barefoot with our jeans rolled up. But sometimes you find that one thing and suddenly like, okay, this was an amazing trip. I did have a great time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that about us being funny places and stuff like that. And I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody, and the thing about motorsport and just car culture in general that I'm very fortunate about, you're very fortunate about, and all of our friends are, is like, I've been able to travel the country and, and I've seen places in this country that most people won't ever get to see. And I mean, I've been to towns and cities and backwoods and things that most people that are going to take a vacation, they never go where we get to go. But it's like car culture. Like if there's an event or there's a cool road or it doesn't matter. Like we'll hold an event there and people will come. And I think that's one thing that's rad is I think you and I both have had these awesome experiences in places that honestly, if I wasn't involved in racing or car culture, I probably never would have been to,
Oh, completely. I mean, you think about it, and I know you and we have a great mutual friend in Tanner Faust, and, all the years that we did Top Gear, I mean, we got to go to some insane corners of the world, whether it's running a logging truck, which you and I both know there's no way they should have let us do that, or watching Tanner go rally around at someplace in Vermont. We went to all these cool places that you really just don't get that chance to do it. And I think that's what makes motorsports in this country so unique, because we really do find these corners and these places of the country and ultimately the world where we want to go and we see and experience it. I feel like you were a part of that race that Tanner was telling me that kind of goes from somewhere in California to Vegas, and you guys all just haul ass in your Polarises the whole time. Like, those are the things that I think, man, I wish I had a weekend off so I could go do a different kind of motorsport. But I think that's what I think this industry does so well, is that whether it's on the street or, off-road, in the dirt, there's so many different things for people who love motorsport to go watch or to go participate. We're really, really fortunate like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, motorsport and cars in general, it's really cool that it's one of those few things that people from all walks of life, it's one of those unifying things. And I say every 2 years, I should say the Olympics are that way, where everybody can come together as one in the United States. You know what I mean? And we're rooting for one team, one common thing, and there's very few things I think left in the world that are that unifying force, but I feel like cars are that way and racing is that way. Like I can go overseas, I can go to Mexico. It doesn't matter where I go. Car people are car people, and we all come together. And like when you see something cool, it's just weird because it's like all kinds of political everything goes away when you're talking about racing or cars. It's just like, it doesn't exist. It's like we're just all car people. And I think that's one thing that's really special about motorsport and the car, and auto industry and in car culture is that it is that unifying force, or one of the few things I think left in the world that actually can do that to people.
It is, and it's funny because I end up a lot of times trying to defend. I feel like I end up defending being pro motorsports because in my mind, it's not just going to watch NASCAR or watching a trophy truck go off jump. It's everything that has to do with cars, trucks, and bikes, and anything with wheels to me. And it's funny, I've found myself lately in defense of this new show I did, Hyperdrive, because there's a lot of people who think, it's gimmicky and it's this and the other. It's like, well, number one, yeah, we made a show for the masses, right? We made a show that's like Top Gear meets Ninja Warrior. Yeah. And the people that are super gearheads, their biggest criticism is like, well, there's not enough info about the cars and I don't care about their backstory. I just want to see it. And all I really feel like saying is, well, then you should turn on a race some weekend of any series and go watch it, because when we have a show and a group like Netflix that'll put the money behind a show like this that they did, to me, if you're into off-road stuff, this is still a show you should watch. In the same way that, I sit down and watch every truck night in America, and I watch half of these build shows that you and I know are completely fake, because I think it's important that we all support the greater good of what this industry looks like. So it's funny how sometimes people get – we can all be like, yay, cars, but then someone sees a guy in a Corvette pull up, and he's like, oh, is he wearing a gold chain? Is it an old guy? And you're like, not everybody that drives a Corvette is old and wears a gold chain. Is that a stereotype? Yes, and sometimes it's right. But I sometimes think we get lost in this minutia of trying to think that we're better than other people in this industry. It's weird because, I don't know what got you started, but for me, it was my dad being into cars, and we started wrenching on anything we could. And so, when the import craze kind of took off, the reason it really took off, and it was our generation's hot rods, is just like my dad and the ones he messed with, we could afford the cars that we bought, and we could afford to work on them and make them better. And so now when I see people be critical of, especially younger kids, it's harder for kids to get into cars nowadays. Number one, there's not as many, I think, kind of cool choices, not as much stuff swaps over. There's a million things you could say besides technology, and they don't go hang out in front of each other anymore. But, it's like I see somebody making fun of a kid because, he did something stupid to his car, and I just have to stop people and be like, dude, that was you 8 years ago or 10 years ago or 15. We all have to start somewhere. But, when you see a low rider who can talk to a guy with a hot rod, who can also talk to a guy with a new Toyota Supra, that to me is that glue that holds us all together. But if we all liked the same thing, none of this stuff would be cool. The differences to me is what makes it special.
Yeah, well, and I completely agree with you, and it's interesting when you start getting those conversations, with the different types of people in the automotive industry. I know we've got so many mutual friends. I mean, I've been on Corolla's show, and I've been on Spike's Ferriston's show, and we all have something different we bring to the table, but it's we can go and we can talk, and I love hearing, Spike's Porsche, stories, and I'm not a Porsche guy, but I can appreciate that, and I know little enough that we can draw parallels, and it's the same when I talk off-road trucks to him. He's never really been in one, but he can appreciate it, and he loves the stories, and I feel like, like you said, it's just interesting. And, like you said, too, I grew up in that generation, and I know it was, here in the Southwest where I was at, it was imports, and the tuner craze, and it was also guys were building, whether it be Toyota pickups or Rangers into pre-runners and things like that, and just bouncing through, the desert. And I grew up there, and I mean, I owned my first truck when I was only 14, and I was already saving up, from washing cars and my weekend job to buy fiberglass fenders and stuff. And I didn't even have a driver's license, and I was already spending money on a truck, but I grew up just like you did, because I was in the shop with my dad, and that's what you did. You wrenched, and you wrenched, and it just gets its hooks in you at a young age. And, here we are. I'm, I think same age as you within a few months, and, it's the rest is history, man. I've figured out how to never grow up, I like to say. And we'll have more Rutledge Wood when we return to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or @visionwheel on social media to learn more.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Here with Rutledge Wood on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, and we're talking about eras.
And who would have guessed that we would be in an era where, you know, guys like Matt Farah with Smoking Tire, or David, that dude in blue, Tavares, if you look at how people are using, you know, the different mediums that we have, and even like guys like Doug DeMuro just absolutely abusing the CarMax return policies. Like, there have been so many cool things that I think when you and I were first starting out, you go, man, I wish I understood better. Like, what's this part really doing? Or I wish there was like some way I could figure out how to mod this one thing. Well, now there's this incredible resource in the internet where so many people who share the same passion are willing to share this knowledge and even show you how. And it's even providing like a way of life for so many of these people that, to me, I just think we've never been in a better place, kind of big picture, with the industry. And the fact that, I mean, think how many cars come off the block now with over 500 horsepower in the tightest, like, fuel mileage standards we've ever had. You just sit there and laugh and go, I don't totally get what's happening, but I love that it is.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I was looking back, and I mean, my family's got a Ford dealership that's 100 years old, so I've been a Ford guy, and obviously I'm just a car guy. I've had contracts with Subaru and things like that, but I know, like, the earliest cars I can remember that I really, really wanted, I mean, we all had, like, the Lamborghini Countach posters on our wall in the 80s, like, that was a given. But I remember Ford came out, I went to a Ford show in the early, I mean, I had to have been 10, 11 years old, early 90s. And Ford came out with an SVT Contour. And I remember I thought this Ford Contour SVT was the raddest car ever made. And if you look
I
up
did
the
too.
I
totally did too.
It's like 190 horsepower. And I look at that, I'm like, one, how did Ford put out an SVT Contour that was 190 horsepower? And then I'm like, man, things have really, I mean, you can get a bone stock Fiesta or pick your whatever compact car that's got that nowadays. Like, it's crazy, man.
Who would have guessed that? I've seen lately so many of the Focus, the Fiesta, there's no way when we were growing up that anyone would have ever looked at a Ford Festiva and thought, man, one day that thing's going to be cool. And then remember the Shogun came out?
Yeah.
The Shogun was like taking a Ford Festiva and giving it a whole bunch of meth, and you came back and you're like, wow, you look pretty good. It had the SHO V6 in the back, wide body. The car still makes no sense. I saw one of the cars, Caffeine and Octane in Atlanta, and just immediately thought that I have to own this car. I want to drive this car. I'm sure it's a terrible driving car, but damn it if it's not cool. And someone did it. I mean, there was a time, do you remember how cool the Probe GT V6 was?
Dude, and it had the turbo on there, and that was another dream car of mine. I wanted a Probe GT turbo with a stick. Like, that was, like, the dream car. Now you look at Probes, dude, that was the ugliest car. What were we thinking?
Oh, my gosh. I have no idea. And you don't find them anywhere. And if you do see one, you can't – I mean, you rubberneck so hard to turn your head and think, like, what a time that was. When I was in high school, I had 4 or 5 friends at once that all had one. And it was like the goofiest non-car club ever. Like, they thought they were a crime-fighting team. But, man, those were fun to drive.
It's funny you bring this up, because we've probably got some listeners like, what the hell is a Ford Probe? Yeah, go and Google it, because you're going to be like, oh, Jimmy and Rutledge are nuts.
Yeah. Sorry. Also, look up the MX-6 from Mazda, same car underneath. Funny, but then they were little torque monsters, torque steer the whole time. I had one friend named Rick who put a single chamber Flowmaster on there, and for the record, it was so redneck, and it's like a redneck Ferrari. Like, it sounded cool and terrible simultaneously, and we loved that thing.
That's funny because I had a single chamber Flowmaster, and I put that on my Ranger with a 2.9 V6, and that thing wouldn't go and get out of its way when I had 31-inch tires on there, but it sounded loud anyways. And my parents loved it because my dad's like, I always knew when you came home late because we could hear you from 6 blocks away.
Oh, for sure. Like, I get that it's like a time of life, but there's a reason I'm a Magnaflow guy now. I can tell you that for sure. All my cars sound awesome, and none of them sound like hot garbage. That's
well, I think that, yeah, and I'm a Gibson guy, but I think that muffler is still made out there somewhere. But that's funny, man. But, you mentioned hyperdrive, and I wanted to ask you about that because, you kind of gave the primer on that show, and I, to be honest with you, I've kind of started watching, but it's one of those I know I want to binge watch it, so I kind of just been dipping my toe in the water. But, I think where we're at in the car industry and motorsports in general, like, this show, I mean, we're 8 years deep now, and we started at, quote unquote action motorsports, and it was kind of, motorsports evolving now, which is funny because I've gone full circle and I'm covered IndyCar and NASCAR and NHRA and everything else, but I kind of feel like Tanner and Ken Block, I mean, those are a couple of guys. I mean, you can throw Vaughn and Forsberg and Turk and those guys in there as well. But, specifically Tanner and Ken, like they kind of created this whole movement where I think it really showed people, hey, we can do so much more in cars. I mean, with everything that Tanner's done with the Hot Wheels stuff and, Ken with Gymkhanas and things like that. And I feel like this is kind of the culmination of where we're at right now, this whole thing with hyperdrive.
Completely. And I think, I don't think we could have a show like this without what Ken Block has done, what Tanner Faust has done, because those guys upped the bar so much, and they were a great influence on each other even to sort of say, like, all right, I'm going to try this. Well, I'm going to try this. And that, for the automotive side, it's kind of like what Pastrana has done for bikes. It's all these guys come together to try to make things better, because one person watched the show and they're like, oh, it's like Gymkhana Grid. I was like, well, kind of, it's like Gymkhana Grid in that it's this insane all-out competition, except some of the cars that are in Gymkhana Grid are the most expensive race cars that people have ever seen. So it's a variance. I think what's so cool about hyperdrive is when Aaron Catling and the guys that came up with the show, they wanted to find something that anyone in the world would watch and go, I want to try it. I got to do that. And to do that, you had to kind of tap into the mind of a kid. Like, you remember playing with Hot Wheels and you'd zoom them around on your floor and it was like, oh, I'm going to do this jump or I would slide through here. It's essentially that same notion, but on this grand stage. And when the producers interviewed me 2 years ago about the show and said, this sounds fun, like, is this something you're interested in? I said, I got to be honest, this sounds like my, perfect show. This is an absolute dream come true, but I don't think anyone's going to give you enough money to make it. And they said, excuse me? I was like, yeah, no, I hope they do. If they do, please call me. But I think this is going to be impossible to do this right, and you've got to have a ton of money. And luckily, Netflix loved the idea and backed it. And to see 28 drivers from all over the world, we had probably 15 or so from the U.S., maybe 14, to see all these drivers pack their car into a shipping container 2 months before, not really knowing what they were getting into, and then they fly to the U.S., to Rochester, New York, of all places, and we took the old Kodak factory and turned it into this amazing playground. It's hard to imagine what it would be like for most people to think, oh, I'll just take my own pride and joy, my car that I love so much, and I'll go put it on this insane competition that's not some $1 million sweepstakes or anything. Like, no, they went and beat up their own cars to show that they were the absolute best in the world. And to me, being there, being a part of it, I don't know if I've been a part of anything cooler. Doing Top Gear US with Adam and Tanner is some of the greatest fun I've ever had in my life. But this was different because I got to help showcase the talent that all these other people have. And man, it was just so cool to see it and to see the ways that people would push each other and themselves, and to know now that families will sit and watch that show. And my daughters all loved it, but to see families watch it and husbands and wives come up and tell me, no, I'm a huge gearhead. She hates cars. She watched the whole thing with me. We got through in one sitting. That's a really cool feeling, because let's be honest, sometimes the stuff that we do, Jim, it's great for guys like you and I, but there's no reason that half of our friends would pay attention to it if they're not into that same love of the nut and bolt that we are.
Yeah, well, and that's a true story, and it's like every once in a while, like my wife will sit down and she'll watch an IndyCar race with me or something like that, when or our portions of the Indy 500, but by and large she'll go away and be like, oh, this is kind of boring, and and even car shows, and it's just the nuts and bolts of it, like you said, like you've got to really be into it. But something like this, I know, and I watched, actually I was reading something on it, and it was one of the reviewers said, this is the show that we never knew needed to be made, but we're glad it was. And I think that kind of sums it up the best. I don't think anybody knew the world needed this show, but now that it's here, it's like, oh man, it's got its hooks in us.
Isn't that true? Like to me, I sit there and think about if you were from Brazil and you were watching this show and you see two guys from your own country battle head to head on this amazing course, it gets harder and harder. How could you not want to go try it? And there is that chance that we could do you could do like regional qualifier type things in the same sort of way that other motorsports said, yeah, come out, try it, see how it feels, whatever. But we could do that same notion all over the world and to give people this great stage, because we've had some incredible drivers on there. Fielding Shredder, who's from Lone Star Drift out in Texas, ripped it up. Brittany Williams, Farouk Kawai. There's been some amazingly talented people that have been on there. But I also love, there was this gal, Sarah Harrow, that shows up from Florida in what was her daily driver 2 weeks before the show. And she basically takes the interior out of her V6 Mustang. They weld a roll cage in, and she goes out there and gives it hell. And she had been doing some kind of smaller drifting in and around Florida, but only for the past 8 months and part-time. And, dude, she got out there with the most heart I've ever seen and ripped it up. And that, to me, is what I love, because, don't get me wrong, I love watching the B.J. Baldwins and Casey Currys and Jim Beavers of the world. I do. I love to see people who have the talent and the sponsors and everything else to make it. But when you see somebody show up in their own car and go put it on the line and kick ass, it makes you just feel so good about all of motorsports in general. It really does.
And we'll be back with more with Rutledge Wood when we return to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online in syndication on networks across the U.S. and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, episode number 400. I got Rutledge Wood on the line. We are knee-deep in this interview. And, you know, Rutledge, one thing that I've really tried to do through this show, and that seems like that show is the same way, is I feel like women now, like, you know, in motorsport and in car culture, like they're very accepting. And I know at one point in time it was almost like there's this barrier to entry where maybe there was some interest, but it was just like you're not welcome. But I feel like literally, especially in the last decade, but I've seen the motorsports industry just open their arms wide to women. And I love seeing women come out, and whether it be in a Jeep out on the rocks or in in a UTV or in this case on your TV show. Like I love the fact that women are getting involved, and some of them are great, phenomenal drivers. And I think that that's one thing that I love about the auto industry right now is that we have shifted, that paradigm, and now it's like, women are completely equal with men, and they have these opportunities to come in and show what they've got.
Completely, because and that's having 3 daughters and have them be able to sit there and watch and go, oh, I really like Brittany, or I think Sarah's going to take it, like that. There's no other way to do that. I think that's why so many of us took losing our friend Jessie Combs so hard, is because she wasn't just a person that inspired some people. She was a person that inspired everybody. And I think that's what a show like Hyperdrive can do, is because maybe you don't own a Lamborghini and figure out how to get it sideways. But the guy Tokyo that came out from Kansas City in his junkyard Nissan S13, that guy still ripped it up and he put it all on the line. And there's a huge amount of respect to be given to the people who don't just talk about doing something, but actually get out there and do it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well, you got to switch gears here, though, because you'd mentioned a couple times Tanner and Adam and, in Top Gear. And, man, I got to say, you'd been involved in, television and NASCAR and stuff like that. But, I feel like once Top Gear US hit, and even Tanner for the most part, I mean, people knew him from racing. But I feel like that show and your 3 personalities, when that all came together, I feel like that just completely, skyrocketed all your guys' careers. And I mean, made you, not that you weren't household names before, but really put you guys on the map. And I know, I've been friends with Tanner for a long time, and that thing kind of came to an end and things happen the way they are. But there's been fans, like I've seen so much on social media. Do you guys talk at all? And is there ever a chance you guys even reboot this thing as like a YouTube series or something on Netflix? I mean, is that in the back of your guys' minds, Rutledge?
Oh man, it's it's funny. It's always on our minds. Doing that show with those two, and it was any show like that has ever existed is going to have some kind of growing pains. And I think that what the 3 of us did well together is when they interviewed all of us and said, "What do you think is going to make this show succeed or fail?" I was like, well, if you've got 3 people pretending to be the guys from the UK, this thing's going to fail, and I don't want to be a part of it. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not here to be a Clarkson or a Hammond or a May. Like, I'm just me. So if this works, I'm all in. And I remember the first day that I met Tanner, I was like starstruck, because here's this guy I've been watching for years, through Drift and Supercars Exposed and all this other stuff. And there were all these like big Hollywood dudes that were there. None of them knew who Tanner was, and none of them knew who I was. It was a really funny thing that happened. And then we met Adam, and things just really clicked, because we shot a bunch of stuff together before we ever shot a single show. But I think what was cool is that we didn't pretend to be, people that you needed to listen to. Like, we weren't trying to pretend to be anything other than 3 guys on these insane road trips. And that's why you should enjoy it. So what's cool is I think people got to like grow with us. And then, by the end, we had done 72 shows over 6.5, almost 7 years for something that was supposed to be a 5-year, 50-show max kind of deal. And the only bummer is really like there's no easy way to get around it. The 3 of us wanted to keep doing the show, and History Channel wanted to have more of it. But BBC got so lost with the UK guys leaving, and they've killed a brand in a really sad way that so many of us loved. So I wish I could tell you that we were going to totally reboot Top Gear and save it from the ashes. But sometimes you got to be able to admit that like pride is what got those people in trouble, and it's not going to help them get out of it unless they can shake that. So I would love to go do something fun with Adam and Tanner, and it's always something that's on our minds. And I think we've gotten close a couple times, but you have to also be smart enough to say like, no, we had an opportunity to do one thing and it was going to be cool, but it was just a little too hokey. And I think we all know like the audience that grew with us loves us just being ourselves together. And I really believe in my heart that opportunity is going to happen for us to be able to go do that again, because none of us, to your point, we didn't understand what was going to happen. We had never done a show that had the global airing that the Top Gear did. And I honestly didn't know until I got to the Olympics in 2016 for NBC. And, there's like, I can't remember the guy's name from NBC that was like Mr. Olympics. He's there with 24-hour security, Bob Costas. Bob Costas had a security guy with him at all times because people were worried, like, what happens if he gets kidnapped and all this other stuff. Not a single person knew who Bob Costas was that wasn't on our crew or from America. Everywhere we went, Jim, everyone knew who I was. Like, way more than at the time in the U.S., it felt like. Because Top Gear aired twice a day in Brazil, and car culture is that important to him. So Tanner would be going to a rally in the middle of nowhere and flying through Sweden or somewhere else, and every time he would get there, a security guard or a police officer, whatever, would stop and want to talk to him about Top Gear for 15 minutes. So I don't think any of us ever realized what was happening when we were doing it, which is probably a great thing. And we just knew we were going to have the time of our lives with these guys that became like family to me. Like, I still talk to those two all the time. And I love them. I really do. Like, they're two of the best friends that I never knew I was going to have. So it's been incredible. And when you can see the ways of success and continued that the guys from the UK have had and other people who have done shows together, and whether it's, Chris Jacobs and Chip Foose doing Overhaul, and like, when you find a combination that works and people support it, you got to be smart enough to keep doing things with those people when you have that chance. So I really hope, and I think we're going to get that shot to go do something that's the right thing. Because, we don't want to show up doing something that, like, we can't pretend to go drag race cars together. Like, we couldn't go show up to, like, Street Outlaws and have it make any sense. So we'll see. But I love those guys, and we talk about it all the time for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like you'd said, it's funny, because a lot of even reality TV nowadays, it's so overproduced, and even personalities, like you'll know somebody and they'll go on a show and I'm like, that's not really that person. And I think the key thing with Top Gear is that let your guys' personality shine. They never directed you, hey, you need to act this way. You need to be this guy. You need to do this. I think that's what made that a success. And you look at other shows that have done that. I even look at the stuff that like you and Dale Jr. do on NBC. And it's funny because I think fans are really getting to see the side of Dale Jr. now, the real Dale Jr. And, and I think that's what's special about, just the things that you guys have been able to do together. And I think fans really attach themselves to that. I think that's really a key piece of what made Top Gear was the fact that it just let you guys be you.
And you know what? I think what's happening I think retroactively there are a lot of people who are like, oh, Top Gear scripted and it's this, that, that. I was like, well, number one, we didn't have a single script. They never handed us anything to read. Now, I think people were confusing the notion of, like, it's definitely a show that's produced. Like, there was a reason, like, I love Roadkill, but there's a reason that Roadkill wasn't on TV for the longest time, because that was a absolute natural arc of these two friends. It's David and Mike, and they're going to go do something stupid, and you're going to see what happens. There's a reason a show like that hasn't worked on TV previously, because you've got to have stuff that keeps people interested in everything else. Now, I've watched almost all the shows they've done, so the difference is they were people that would have a plan. But, like, most of the time they'd call us and say, hey, you got $3,000, you need to go 150 miles an hour. What do you want? And I would get on Craigslist and just start sending links, because I'd be covering a race somewhere, or, Tanner would be in another country, Adam would be acting in New York, whatever it was. And then we show up and this is what happened. So what was cool is that I think people are having a better appreciation for, man, we got a lot of stuff done on that show and did some really cool things. I think that people, that if you weren't totally paying attention, you'd be like, no, I know, I'll watch it. Like, they're having fun, whatever. And now you look back and go, wow, you drove to the top of a glacier in Iceland, and it doesn't make any sense. And, like, we got up to the top, and the whole time they thought, all right, if this thing goes off, if this volcano with the glacier on top goes off, you have 3 hours to get down before it's like mass chaos, because it's also going to create a flood, of course, underneath. And I was like, 3 hours? It took 2.5 days to get up here. What am I going to do with 3 hours? Yeah. Like, that. I look back at the stuff that we did is just ridiculous, but I love that people still watch, whether it's on YouTube or Hulu, or they find it. Like, that's a cool thing. But those same people, because Tanner helped design a lot of the courses for Hyperdrive, and a lot of people, the number one reaction I got from people is, the show is awesome. When are you going to do something with Adam and Tanner? So it warms my heart to see that. And, of course, a lot of people saying, when season 2 I want to try out. That, to me, is rad. Because, like, tell me, once you see it, I believe that you would want to get out there and give it a shot and rip it up. I know you do great.
Yeah. No, I think everybody does. That's what's great about it. It's one of those where people see that, And I think that's what's been key with any motorsports that's been a success, and is people see it and they go, hey, I can go and do that too. And I think, that's the thing with Polaris RZR, is it's welcoming to everybody. That's the thing with just about, any of these motorsports that really, I think drifting for one, people know, hey, I can go and do that. I can take my car and learn to drift, and I think hyperdrive is one of those, it's one of those rarities, the anomalies where, you and I watch a top fuel car and we know we can't do that. But I watch hyperdrive and I go, oh, I can do that too. And that's what brings people in by, the masses.
Totally.
So
I think that's what makes it work.
Yeah, exactly. So that being said, we are almost to the 3-segment time break here, buddy. What do you got next? I know NASCAR, it is playoff time, my friend. I know you got some filming and stuff. What's coming up for you in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm working on another show for Netflix, and I'm not allowed to tell you what it is yet, but it'll be awesome. Hopefully we get to hear some good news on hyperdrive soon. And yeah, NASCAR and NBC is heating up. We got our the field set for our 16 people running for the championship. So now we got 10 more races to see how all this stuff's going to shake out. But I'm bummed, man. Jimmy Johnson didn't make it. I know that would have been awesome, but I got a feeling we're going to see maybe Denny Hamlin. It's been an insane year for him. Maybe even Kyle Busch. I don't know who we're gonna pick, but it's gonna be an awesome year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I gotta say, as a guy that knows both of Jimmy's brothers and how much work that Jarrett put into getting his old off-road truck back together, I absolutely. The entire off-road community was so stoked on Jimmy Johnson bringing back the old Chevy Lightning for theme for Darlington, and the video he put out with the old off-road truck.
How cool was that?
Dude, I swear the entire off-road industry was literally on cloud 9 because of that. Like, I know Jimmy's still friends with a lot of people in the industry. He hasn't been back in a while, and rightfully so. He's trying to become the greatest NASCAR driver of all time.
Right.
But dude, like, that was so rad. I mean, it gave me goosebumps because I grew up, my dad raced against Jimmy in Class 8, and then to see him bring that truck back, it was like so rad.
And Jarrett, man, he did such a ridiculous job. That thing, to dig around and find period correct parts and to rebuild that truck the way they did. And we got to give credit to Ally Bank. The fact that they said, no, totally, we make it exactly like you had it. Because a lot of these companies get in there and they're like, yeah, let's do a throwback. And it doesn't look anything like what they're throwing back to. But, that truck, without that truck, we would have never had Jimmy Johnson in NASCAR, is the truth. So to me, it's not only a piece of off-road history, it's a piece of NASCAR history. And that's what I loved about seeing it there in Darlington. Was just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. And now I know everybody's already talking, hopefully Jimmy takes it to the Nora Mexican 1000, the vintage race, and takes it down there so we can see him run that. And I got to think that's on his radar at some point. So we'll see.
It's got to be. He's so cool, man. I know he'd do it.
Yeah, dude, I'm sure he is. And like I said, I know he's still friends with a lot of people in the industry, and I can tell you we'd welcome him back with open arms anytime he wanted to come back. And I'm sure Robbie Gordon would give him a little rub here and there too. So it'll be fun to have him back.
You know it.
Yeah, Jimmy versus Robbie in the desert once again. Wouldn't that be a storyline, man?
I'd be there. I'd be on the front row.
Yeah, I think both of us would. Oh man, Rutledge, dude, thank you for taking the time for episode number 400, buddy. I can promise you it won't be 400 episodes before we do it again, man.
Amen. Hey, congratulations. Thanks for having me. So proud of you, man. Thanks for doing what you do. This is such a cool thing to be a part of, and you're a legend. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, buddy, and I'm sure we'll see you out at that General Continental Tire party at SEMA once again, right?
Yes, I can't wait. See you there.
How rad is Rutledge Wood? Man, so special to have him on the show here to celebrate episode number 400. We're going to wrap things up when we return here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into to this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor, episode number 400. Thanks to all of you guys for tuning in today. You guys make this show happen. We wouldn't be 400 episodes without you, the listeners. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And, everything you guys have done for me. Love hearing your feedback at Jim Beaver 15 on social media, or use that Facebook group. It's Jim Beaver Action Motorsports Discussion. Love hearing from you guys. We got the contact form at downanddirtyshow.com. Thank you once again for all your continued support of the show and, making us, hit this milestone. Wouldn't happen without you guys or our partners at Polaris Razor, General Tire, 40 Parts, MyMedic. Don't forget, coupon code at MyMedic is Jim Beaver. That'll get you 15% off. Vision Wheel, Gibson Exhaust, Dirtfish. Coupon code is DownDirtyDF for 15% off at Dirtfish. Super ATV, and everybody who has supported us over the years and helped us make this amazing milestone happen. Seriously, thank you guys. Please hit up iTunes, hit the subscribe button, and also at YouTube. We're dropping a bunch of content there. We've got some exciting stuff coming. Thanks to Pastrana. Thanks to Rutledge Wood. We will be back next week with another episode, man. Back to the grind, right? Back to the drawing board, right? We got to get to episode number 500. I guess that's 2 years from now, but we got to keep plugging away at things. Once again, thank you guys, and I can't wait to hear your feedback on the show and what you think, and I can promise you we'll continue to be here every week with more Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Hopefully you guys have a great week, and we see you next time right here